my approach, but I love experimenting like most entrepreneurs. I do consider myself an entrepreneur. I call myself everything from a tile artist to a tile stylist to a tile maker to a art tile maker. It just depends on what day it is, how I woke up. A tile hoe, a tile fabricator. I'm pretty much a one-pony show. It's just like, if you want to talk to me about tile, I'll go on for 100 years. Anything else, I'm like, who's president? No, just all right. So this is just one example, a school that I did, I think it's 15 or 16 or 17 years in a row. I've done a mural at Utah Elementary School. Wow. They're going to stick me on the wall next. 1981, yay, out of RISD. I moved to Newport and started, nobody was flipping houses then, no women were doing it, and it was something that I wanted to do, so I started buying houses and started my fledgling tile company in 1981, Fountain Street Tile Works. There I am, notice how I'm setting my first tile floor, and I'm in the middle, see? We're like, oh, how did I get here? And now we're like, and my buddy used to bring me fish, and just for the pleasure of stomping clay with me. Very good. Found out about Moravian Pottery and Tile Works and applied. One day, was hired the next day, and I started working there as a production ceramist. It's in Doylestown. I really consider Henry Mercer the granddaddy of tile. Can I see a show of hands if you
I've been there.
and know Henry Mercer?
Personally?
Moravian Pottery. Well, he's my boyfriend, but he was born 100 years ago. Yes, so I got to be production manager there in the 80s where I met Karen Singer, which was great. And next slide. This is, as production manager, I was designing a lot of installations for people and was curious whether they actually worked or fit. So I went off on a little excursion setting tile with my, has anybody heard of Michael Burns? He wrote back then the Bible of setting tile, put out by a small publisher in Taunton Press. And he became a big tile education guy for the Tile Council of North America and stuff, but I was literally reading his book and learning how to set tile. Going after work, the people would give me pizza and beer, I think, because I remember one time I set one of the tiles upside down. Next, please. I came up with a line of my own tile inspired by my work at Henry Mercer and the desire to do things my way, always as an entrepreneur, you know, taking risks, breaking rules, innovating, experimenting. Red Hill Tile was a line I ran for I sold it at mom and pop showrooms all around the country and was a vendor for Waterworks, which was kind of the, and they are very bougie kitchen and bath. Okay, so these are just some concept boards. Yeah, more concept boards, and what that means is they'd be in showrooms. You'd have, back in the day, you'd get a fax. You had to train. I'd go on fun tile trips, training, going to showrooms, hosting little wine cheese, and how to sell your work and help promote the work. So that was a lot of fun. Early on, my stuff was a little more fussy, like that sort of, I don't know what you would call that, French provincial. At some point, we were doing a lot of little sgraffito and hand painting tile. Flemish bond is one of my favorite patterns ever for the end of time. Okay, next. These are then, this is a chronological story, and I've left out 5 more speeches. Come on, workshop, no. Installations through Waterworks. So in other words, my tiles would go out in boxes and I wouldn't know where they were. And at first, Waterworks had 3 showrooms and it's a family-run business and they were all about the vendor and the story. Eventually, as they grew, who knew, like to be corporate, you had to make sure you didn't send anything out, your packaging didn't have your name on it at all. But originally they were like into the street level vendor and what you were about and blah, blah, blah. And then it just got erased and then it became something like where, I never got this, how tile could be shown all around the country and the style of what people like is the same in Miami as it is in Portland. And I was like, I don't know how that happened, but something, I guess it's now with the internet, that's a moot question because it's same everywhere.
Oh wait, well, I'm not sure what happened to this slide.
Okay.
Is that the slide?
No.
Oh, that was the other one. That's
all right.
You can try one more time? No, not there.
Okay, I think that was a beautiful wall at my house. This is, Doylestown, public walls. This was my first big outdoor installation and actually all the tiles were made in workshops and it's a small pocket park and it was my first big outdoor mural, community built. So I got my feet wet, somebody pushed me, one of my influencers, there's always somebody out there saying, you can do this. So I'm like,
It's a
okay,
big job.
yeah. This one was even a bigger job, maybe my dear friends in the dementia unit, which I seem to really like teaching people in their later years that are not really considered useful members of society anymore and give them something that can give them self-esteem. Great job for a teacher, it's the same lesson plan every week. You know, they've never met me and we're doing, we're rolling pin and cookie cutters and don't eat the clay. But if you go back, that was done, just, these are clay artifacts from 13 years of working in every Thursday, once a week in a dementia unit in Bucks County. It's a county-run facility. So that house is like life-size. You can go up to the door and look in the door and the dog on the porch. Just so many fun little things in this thing. They use the trees with the apples on the right for physical therapy so that it's an interactive wall and they get people's reaching for apples, their hands are above their heart. So many dear stories, so many beautiful people.
Where is this?
Neshaminy Manor, it's a court in the county-run facility, residential place for seniors. Okay.
Do you want to look at that detail?
No. Oh, that's one detail of the dog on the porch.
Oh.
Our program was called Arts for the Manor, and this is the dog Artie. He was our mascot, so I did a full-size Artie on the porch. Another Doylestown project, the last that you'll see in this slideshow, was one that this really extravagant stone house in Point Pleasant, Pennsylvania, on the river, where a very manic-y, crazy guy built a crazy stone house, and the owner asked me to bring some of that craziness inside. And I'm like, should I be insulted or should I be? So this is what I came up with. It was an entire, it was a fit out for an office for 9 workers from Prague who would be coming there and working. So I was also given artistic license, which was, you know how that's daunting and good. Somebody like me might need a few parameters. Next, please. This is the same place. Whoops. Same, so like a Hundertwasser, there was a little bat cave, I called it, and it was problematic. And then it was on the river, so I did the heron, and I love doing herons, I don't know why. I just, that was an entire wall with tiles. That was a lot of the Marola tiles in those mandalas. That's one really basic fun thing to do with their tiles is sort of harvest them. I call it harvesting, picking tiles and harvesting them and then reconnoitering into simple things. But it was beautiful. And this was a story of migration because this guy's business is in Hong Kong, LA, Prague, and here, River Road. Next.
This doesn't say anything, have anything on it.
All the slides they're not showing
It's
up?
kind of strange, right?
Okay.
Let's
Well,
see.
oh, okay.
Well, this one does show.
Oh, I do have my computer.
You wanna try?
Well, let's just skip, I mean, life comes, you just roll, right, with the flow, that's what we're about with tile artists. Maybe I'll get you interested enough to want to see more someday. But in that house, these really cool bird baths that I tiled the inside and then put glass tops on them, so they're like these terrarium tables. Those were some of my favorite things, so. 2013, my daughter got married, July 19th, and I had a show, an opening at Magic Gardens on July 12th.
Oh, God.
So, kept me focused and busy. Ellen, who was the director then, asked me to do a show there. We tossed around a few ideas of maybe doing a group show where I worked in Philly, but this is me coming into Philadelphia, and I had to fill all those galleries, all of Isaiah's galleries, with my work. And this is me making, you know, a few process pictures of the show being made, so next. This is these, I love making critters. They don't have to be realistic, they're just fantastical in my mind. These are all the scales, so I like tile, I like repetition, obviously, I like texture. Each tile was just a triangle, cookie cut right, and then made a little impression with another little triangle. Oh, I think I rolled with lace first, and then I took my thumb and like pushed them up. Very cathartic. Next. This is building the foam form for this giant to be snake, double-headed snake. So doing the Sherry Warner Hunter method of fiberglass mesh and polymer cement. Building it and soon to be tiled. The next picture shows it getting installed at Magic Gardens. It's pretty big, so you can see how big James is, who's was a studio assistant for me at the time. And the theme of the show is sort of about the garden of good and evil, and a little twisted, a little dark. That's okay.
But also the eternity symbol.
Next, some more pieces from this show in the kiln after I painted them. I think I hand painted those like and fired them like 3 or 4 times to get the color really juicy. I love refiring stuff. People always ask if you can. Yes, and do. You get really fun things. Next, please.
Is that
Go ahead.
underglaze on there? What do you use on that?
Yeah, and then sometimes I'm prone to firing it super hot so that it does flux, you know? So if they say, oh, fire this to 04, layer it on there heavy and fire it up to 1, and you get some exciting results.
Oh my goodness.
So that was me laying out all the tesserae around it. What was I gonna do? Again, I think my farm background, my work ethic definitely comes in from being raised on a farm. My being process oriented has to do with being raised on a farm where you don't just plant the seed and walk away and wait till fall, you know, to harvest or whatever. There's many steps in between, and clay is super demanding. It's like babysitting children. It's like when they're ready to eat, they're ready to eat. When it's ready to bake, it's ready to bake. You know, like it's just, yeah. So I've learned all life lessons through clay. So that piece is pretty big.
How big is that?
I'm not afraid of, I'm just gonna say 42 by 30-ish. Heavy, I made an angle iron frame. You know the bed frames that you see people throw out all the time, the metal ones?
Yeah.
Weld those up because it makes a great frame for putting any kind of substrate, any kind of board in there that you're ever prone to.
And what was the board made in this case?
This one, I did a foam-based board made by a company that I'm not that hot on anymore. I've switched a bunch of times, but this was made by Noble. A board. They don't make, I don't actually think they make.
So
this
you were
board
trying
anymore.
to get a board that was light because it was so big?
Yeah. And then build a frame around it so that it's stable. And then I can put the cleat, I use that frame as the cleat in the back for hanging, so that made my hanging easier. I could just anchor big screws into the wall. The way Isaiah, he was so smart, if anybody builds a studio, he put plywood on the walls and then sheetrock, so that anywhere you hang your work, it's got something to hang on to.
Oh.
That's a great idea.
Yeah.
I like that.
Next, yeah, that's a good one. I was like, note to self, building next studio. More pieces for that show with Isaiah. We're moving on, slow and steady wins the race. I'm a turtle nut from the very beginning of my life. I don't know why. I've made many turtle friends. That's probably me chilling out on the back of one of them. Next. I did a series of fairy tales. I've always loved the Belgian. I don't know actually who
Yeah.
did the ears, when they share the ears like that, the hairs. Next. So that was a combination of tesserae. I'm not afraid to use rocks, with glass, with mosaic, like a bunch of us. We just use sort of what's available to me. And I think one of my childhood things that won't go out of my head is like we had to clean our plate. Being one of 15 kids, you could only take what you were gonna eat and you had to clean your plate. So I sat there many a night staring at my cold peas and just, you know, waiting it out, hoping for compassion from help, hoping the dog would find me. So those are little stories in my mind. No, that's the finished piece there. There's some smalty in there, mirror.
Isn't that like a
Of course, always handmade tile. For me, somehow, it's the handmade tile. It's the bas relief. It's the making of these tiles. Each hair is 15 inches long, so.
Wow.
Okay, so next, I think I show the next slide of, oh, a couple more, and we can just keep going. Eye candy, just showing you different mosaics that I did for that show. A totem on that side, which was fun, just stacking clay pipe, chimney pipe. I did mosaic on these flowers, which it was the first time I'd done it with cookie cutters, and then just rolled out a big slab of clay and scored the pieces, you know, at that point rather than later, you know, glazing everything and later putting it on and grouting it. So that was kind of an innovative thing for me at that point. Yes. And in time, which we're running out of, so. Did some big faces, mythological creatures that I'm interested in, again, little stories. And that was what one of the walls at the show looked like. Their exhibitions trainee at the time was